Okay, we're going to get into the whole steal here in this hour in the trial, all of it. We're also Dr. Yano in the Wuhan lab and Taylor, the author of the book Biden Unauthorized, talk about how Biden's going to handle this pressure of the CCP being down on him. But I want to go back to Wyoming. It's very important. Liz Cheney stands symbolically for so much of what the old Republican Party did wrong. And most importantly, it's the arrogance. It's just the arrogance of these people. They get elected and they could care less. They think they're royalty. They could care less what the people think. I want to go to a young delegate out there, Ocean Andrews, came up with a great idea. Why don't we bring Matt Gaetz? Why don't we bring a fire breather out here that's a true America First, true MAGA, true Trump supporter, and have him talk to the people? So, Ocean, we're going to cover this on, and Raheem, I think, may cover it live on Thursday. People should know at 1 p.m. Mountain Time in Cheyenne. It'll be 3 p.m. here. It'll be during the National Pulse show. Matt Gaetz, who's obviously a dear friend of this show, been on many, many times, been a co-host, sold a ton of his books, had a slip or two every now and again, but that's okay. He's a young man. Matt Gaetz is coming out there. How did you get the idea, and how did you get the idea of calling Matt Gaetz?
Thank you, Steve. Well, I wanted to talk to someone who was representing what my constituents in Wyoming were telling me in their emails, that, you know, they were very offended that in a state where 70% of our population voted for Trump, that our own representative, who we trusted, would vote in the way she did. It's, you know, she cited voting her principles, but she's representing a state where she knows that people were not in support of that idea. It would be a little bit of like voting to shut down coal production.
Which Biden's going to do. Let me ask you real quickly. You just elected her on November 3rd. How did you guys? What's the disconnect? The Cheneys are the Cheneys. She's kind of had this arrogance. How did the good folks in Wyoming that are now standing up and they're saying in Lincoln County, hey, we just don't want to censure. We want to put it in there. She's got to resign. So you're 90 days, or she just came, she's less than a month in from this Congress, but within 90 days or 100 days of when you guys elect her, how did you elect her and then have her turn on the will of the people so strongly?
Well, Wyoming is a very trusting state. We have about 600,000 people. You know, you'll generally find the keys left in any car you see parked because we trust people. And Liz Cheney ran under the banner of the Republican Party. And people probably knew some things that they didn't like about her, but they trusted that if she ran as a Republican, she was going to vote the way that people would expect her to vote. And I think this is really just the tip of the iceberg. And people are starting to research this more. And a lot of her big government policies are starting to be exposed.
Yeah. So, Ocean, we got to bounce. But what do you hope the outcome of your event with Matt Gaetz on Thursday is? What are you looking for as far as an outcome?
I hope it opens the door to a successful primary challenge and better conversation about the track records and policies of our federal delegation.
Okay, Taylor, Ocean, last question. Are you going to join the Lincoln County and other counties that are going to demand not just you come back to the state conference and confront this censure, but also do you see any movement out there to actually demand that she resign?
Yes, there definitely is movement to demand that she will resign. I expect that many other county parties will do so as well.
Ocean, what are your social media coordinates? How do people keep up with you, and particularly your rally that you've got going on, or your event you've got going with Matt Gaetz on Thursday? How do people find out more about it?
Well, you can contact me at oceanandrew.com. You can find the event on my Facebook page at Ocean Andrew for Wyoming House District 46. And you can find the event on that Facebook page as well.
Ocean, thank you very much for joining us. Look forward to talking to you on Thursday. Great idea out there. Great work.
Thank you, Steve.
For those folks out there, we had Pressler on the show. He's going to do a special hour on activism on Saturday, the 11 to 12 hour, subject to not massive breaking news. We're going to have Scott Pressler back on in studio, give an entire hour of how you can get engaged. Look, this is doable. You guys worked like crazy on the election. We had a win during this whole thing on the steel. We had it all teed up. Mike Pence, we're going to have John Eastman on to tell you how Mike Pence made a terrible terrible, unconstitutional decision. That's why we're in the shape we're in now. But remember, we won everywhere, including the presidency. But you won at the House level. You held the Senate. We won at state assemblies. We won at local jurisdictions. We're winning. It's a red nation with some blue cities, some big blue cities on the coast, and all the college towns, right? All the big university towns that have been taken over by the cultural Marxist. Okay? We got that, but we're winning. In the way you do not relent, you do not back off. All they want is unity on their own terms. If they were prepared to meet people halfway and actually have a discussion about this, and you see they don't want to have a discussion, we're going to get to the Rand Paul struggle sessions by George Stephanopoulos and others, and we're going to show one way to handle it, as Rand Paul did, and another way not to handle it, as a young congressman from North Carolina had it. But Raheem, I want to go, by the way, this activism, I want you to go to these people's pages. I want you to give them a shout out or support. What you ask what you can be doing today. One thing I say is you don't have to send anybody money right now. Don't send money. Here's what you need to do. Become a force multiplier. Become a force multiplier on information warfare, because that's the state that we're in right now, and you are the force multiplier. Hey, I'm sanctioned by China because of the access to you, right? They understand that this is a powerful, powerful tool. The war room posse is what makes it happen. So make sure you support the people that are out there fighting. You know, the Ocean Andrews and Taylor Allreds and the Kelly Wards, and you're seeing all kind of new names, people you haven't seen before. People are stepping up at this time in history. This is a fourth turning. You're seeing people step up, and you're seeing people become active, and they say, what do I want to do? I'm tired of the talk. I'm tired of just listening. I want to do something. The first thing you do is become a force multiplier on everything related to information. Just push it out. And I realized a lot of people saying, gosh, we lost. It was so terrible. I didn't see mass arrests. I want to go, crawl under the covers. Your country needs you. You cannot crawl under the covers. Okay, Raheem Kassam.
And this, you're in the grind now. And just get used to it and get over it. It's not always going to be sexy. Right, there aren't always going to be gun battles in Frankfurt. It's just true, and I'm only using that euphemistically.
Take your cosplay,
but I'm just using that euphemistically. It's not always going to be even like DC sexy, right? It's not even always going to be local politics sexy. Some of it is just going to be a grind. Some of it is just going to be, as we do, by the way, every day. Wake up and oh great, I've got to go through 200 pages of Joe Biden's, COVID-19 plan, which actually is no different from President Trump's task force's plan, right? Some of it's going to be, okay, I have to, and I know how much you guys hate this, I have to listen to what Fauci said, because I need to understand the means, the words, the mechanisms, everything that the other side is doing and that they're foisting on. If you don't understand those things, then you're not in the fight, you're just a spectator, right? And if you want to be a spectator, then fine, go be a spectator. But you can't then claim you're doing something. If all you're consuming, is, things on Rumble and stuff that reiterate the things that you already feel, you're not doing anything.
Yeah. We want you as a producer.
We don't know thy enemy.
We don't want you as a consumer. We want you as a producer. You take this and process it and then push it out. If you push it out, and we're going to get to we don't have time now. Do we have time to play the struggle sessions?
Yeah, I think we do.
Can we?
Right?
Do we have Stephanopoulos, Rand Paul, and Madison? Do we have those?
Yeah, while we get those up, I think we got the Rand Paul up here.
Okay,
let's roll it.
Let's roll the Rand Paul.
Were there dead people who voted? Were there illegal aliens who voted? Yes, and we should get to the bottom of it. I'll give you an example. In my state, when we had a Democrat Secretary of State, she refused, even under federal order, to purge the rolls of illegal voters. We got a Republican Secretary of State, and he purged the rolls.
But, Senator Paul,
I have to difference, and those things
I have to stop
occur.
you there. No election is perfect, but there were 86 challenges filed by President Trump and his allies in court. All were dismissed. Every state certified the results after investigations, counts, and recounts. The Department of Justice, led by William Barr, said there's no widespread evidence of fraud. Can't you just say the words, this election was not stolen?
What I would suggest is that if we want greater confidence in our elections, and 75% of Republicans agree with me, is that we do need to look at election integrity, and we do need to see if we can restore confidence in the elections.
Well, 75% of Republicans agree with you because they were fed a big lie by President Trump and his supporters who say the election was stolen. Why can't you say,
well, I think where
President
you make,
Biden won a legitimate and fair
mistake,
election?
hey, George, where you make a mistake is that people coming from the liberal side like you immediately say everything's a lie instead of saying there are two sides to everything. Historically, what would happen is if I said that I thought there was fraud, you would interview someone else who said there wasn't. But now you insert yourself in the middle and say the absolute fact is that everything I'm saying is a lie.
Well, because, Senator, I said what the president said was a lie because he said, hold on a second. He said the election was stolen. This election was not.
Right. That's a struggle session. That could have taken place in Red China with the Red Guard. George Stephanopoulos he sits in for the Red Guard.
That's the way CGTN interviews people.
And is also if you just say the magic words, if you just say the election was not stolen, if you just say it's a big lie, it's all going to be good. You're all going to be accepted. We're going to hug you. We're going to pat you on the head. This is a struggle session.
Yeah, we'll let you go back to your house. We'll make sure your neighbor doesn't beat you up.
You'll have your TSA. You'll have your TSA pre-check. You'll have your credit. You have your bank account. You're going to have your job. You just have to submit in the struggle session.
Yeah. And listen again to the words that the establishment media uses. The big lie. The big lie. The big lie was coined by Adolf Hitler as a term to attack the Jews in Germany, to blame them for Germany's loss in World War I.
We had Rabbi Sparrow started this show a week ago Monday with a prayer for the nation, right? And what did he do? We had him talk about the Reichstag fire and the big lie. We knew this was coming. This is what they're going to use. This is the terminology they're going to say, that everything we talked about on not just election irregularities, on voter fraud and ballot fraud and election fraud, right, on the stealing of this election was going to be labeled the big lie. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why it is so important that this trial must get down to the receipts.
How are we living a reality where the media is literally using a Hitler phrase?
Goebbels. It was Goebbels came up with it.
No. It was Hitler who wrote it in Mein Kampf.
Oh, Mein Kampf.
He wrote it in Mein Kampf.
You're correct. You're right. The stab in the back.
They are quoting Mein Kampf at us right now and calling us the crazy right-wing extremists. Yep. I cannot believe this is the reality we're living right now.
Oh, I can believe it's a reality.
Well,
this is what the fight has to be. You cannot back down an inch, right? Rabbi Sparrow told us that this is where they were going to go. And this is why it's so important to hit with facts. One of the reasons we don't talk about the Dominion system on here, I just don't know enough of the facts. It's too complicated. I keep calling it a free option. Hey, maybe there is something. But that to me, and I've always thought that takes some investigatory apparatus that's not available on the outside, that would take some sort of, and maybe it starts in Maricopa County. Maybe it starts with the Judiciary Committee of the Arizona Senate getting into the county supervisors and demanding a full audit there. Maybe that's the way it starts. But the low-hanging fruit is all there. Those receipts are there. That has got to be presented to get in the grill of these people. They're going to accuse President Trump essentially being accessory to murder. We're going to return in a moment.
War Room Pandemic with Stephen K. Bannon.
The epidemic is a demon, and we cannot let this demon hide.
War Room Pandemic. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Okay, welcome back. We got a lot of wood to chop here. I want to go back to the trial in the Senate. Listen, the whole struggle session with George Stephanopoulos, and Stephanopoulos is as good as it gets in this, right? This is why so many people don't want to go on his show, and this is why so many Republican politicians kowtow when they're on his show. Okay. Rand Paul's entire segment, I think, is 7.5 minutes. We're going to put it in the live stream. We're going to put it up on the site today. Hopefully, National Pulse will put it up.
It's been on the Pulse since yesterday.
It is must viewing for everybody in our audience. You get to see. And by the way, Rand Paul has not been a fire breather on this topic, but he's a constitutionalist, right? Libertarian constitutionalist.
That's the amazing thing. Rand Paul voted to certify. Right,
yes.
The results.
Yes,
and they're still trying to put him through a struggle session.
Yes, because he's got to say the magic words.
You've got to say the magic words. You cannot please them enough.
And I was a little surprised Rand Paul didn't vote for to decertify, to review the certification process, which it really was. But his is a lesson in how it's done. And this shows you, we're also going to try to get clips from the Boris is going to be on. Boris was on Ari Melber last night. And look, Boris as a surrogate was as good as they got in 16. He can dig. That's why they blew him out at CNN and others, because he'll take a position, just won't back off it. He knows how to play the game. Ari Melber is a tough interviewer. And Boris didn't back down last night, but he did get jammed up a little bit. And the reason is, I don't think anybody right now is prepared of the overwhelming scope of what these Democrats are going to try to do. They understand, and don't believe you're hearing a lot of noise about, the Republicans don't want to convict. The Democrats understand they don't have the votes to convict. And they understand if President Trump goes in and talks of voter fraud, they're still not going to have the votes to convict, because we're going to put the Republican Senate on trial and dare those guys to convict him, and they won't be able to do it, or their political careers are over. So you're still going to have the 5 or 6, hardcore anti-Trumpers, Sass, Toomey, who's leaving so he doesn't have any political future anyway, and Romney and those guys, right, Murkowski and others. But what the Democrats' game is, you can see in the tell last night was MSNBC, as you pull it all together, they want to convict Donald Trump in the eyes of the American people in the world. And they're hoping that he has not a strong defense, because they're going to come in guns blazing, and they are going to, I think, go over the top. And here's the thing. They understand they have a very tough time doing it just on the speech itself and the rally itself, which was really originally the charge. They're now going back. What MSNBC did was go back over the history of himself as a candidate and talk about the violent words and how he had stirred his audience up to be violent, right? Went back to, I think, 2014, 2015. Yep. Raheem. Yep. Then in addition, they're going to go back to November 4th, and they're going to say everything that he did, the Gettysburg hearings, the hearings in Atlanta, the hearings in Arizona, all of it stirred these people up. So everything you saw on all these different shows and every piece of evidence is what stirred them up. They're going to make the overwhelming case. And hey, don't believe me. Watch MSNBC nonstop right now on CNN. You see how they're positioning this. They're coming all in for the kill shot on Trump to try to purge him from the political process, understanding they don't have the votes to convict. And so they've basically threatened him. Do we have the Madison? Do we have the Madison thing ready?
Well, I don't think Denver does. I could play it from
Why
here.
Why doesn't Denver?
Well, we'll do some live production here, but I can play it from here as soon as they fix the audio coming out of the laptop.
Okay,
I think
fine.
I want to show. I can roll it.
I want to.
You
show,
have it?
Yeah, let's have it.
Okay, let's roll it. Let's roll it.
But this was all litigated. You know that the Trump campaign litigated all of this, more than 60 cases, and they lost. Either the cases were dismissed, the Trump campaign withdrew, or they never brought a case because they didn't have the evidence to back it up.
Indeed, I believe specifically, and this is the one that I debated on behalf of on the House floor, in Wisconsin, that was never heard because they dismissed it because of standing. Now, I don't believe that that is concrete enough of a way to say.
Well, there were 3 Trump appointments. Okay, so you have Wisconsin, but you ended up not actually voting against Wisconsin. It was just Arizona and Pennsylvania because you didn't have the Senate votes. But 3 Trump-appointed judges actually threw out these cases because of merit. It was because of merit. There were 3 Trump-appointed judges out of all of these judges and the more than 60 cases that were tossed out. And you keep talking about Wisconsin. I'm still not hearing any specific examples of fraud. If you would, just tell us, what are the specific examples you saw of fraud? Because when you think of fraud, you think of a vote, you're slipping one past the election official, or a vote was stolen, somehow it didn't count. Did you see that specifically?
No, Pam, and like I said, that's not the reason I contested the election.
Hold on. So you wanted to throw out millions of votes without actually seeing any concrete evidence of fraud? Because that's what you were doing when you were contesting. The intent there was throwing out millions of votes.
Well, I disagree with you on that point. That was not my intent. My intent was to hold up the Constitution, and setting up ballot drop boxes, which is essentially ballot harvesting in Wisconsin, is unconstitutional because the state legislature said they didn't want that.
So you know more than the judge, the Trump-appointed judge, who actually looked at that case before the election and dismissed the Trump campaign's argument that drop boxes are unconstitutional. And if you would you point to me and where in the Constitution it says that drop boxes are unconstitutional? I don't recall seeing that in the Constitution.
Amazing. Amazing.
Well, we
Got
did,
absolutely
but
chopped
we
up.
didn't have. That's still not the right cut.
We didn't have. That's still not the right cut. We did.
Okay, let's kill that. We still didn't have the right cut. We wanted to say at the end where he says there's no problem. So that's not the right cut. It's a good cut. It shows you the National Football League. But if we can pull up at the end and get the cut at the end where he actually says, no, there was no fraud, and I don't know what I'm doing.
Well, whatever it was.
Here's my point.
This is the cut going around right now.
Rand Paul, but it's not the right cut. Rand Paul, who did not support actually the process that John Eastman laid out, actually made a ringing defense. And Madison, and here's the thing, that's bad staff work. You can't walk in to the lion's den and not be set on everyone because they're not going to come in with fair questions.
It's bad everything work. It's bad prep. It's bad staff work, and it's bad media handling live on air. If you don't know your stuff, you at least have to know how to pivot.
Yeah.
And there was none of it.
Yeah.
And by the way, she wasn't even very good.
No, but she had a producer in her ear. Remember, they got a producer in their ear.
Well, that's why she's mumbling.
I don't want to pick.
She's trying to listen to a producer feeding her lines.
I don't want to pick on him, but this has happened a couple of times. Where one thing he's all for the wall, next thing he's not. He's open borders. If you want to be a leader, you got to do the work of a leader, and you can't go in and think you're going to charm people. This is not charm school. Okay, right there, CNN is. You're in the crucible, right? You're in the crucible, and you represent not just your constituents. In addition, you represent the MAGA movement, you represent the Republican Party, you represent people. You say you're constitutionalists, you represent it. So, yesterday, and they're just going to browbeat us on this nonstop. And I'm not saying it's easy. It's not easy. It's very, very tough. Even a guy like Boris last night, who's a guy can dig into a position and not get off it. He got beat up last night. I mean, he did a very good job. But it shows you how on the trigger they are. Look at that right there. She was so well prepped, and the producer was prepped. They know that you throw an argument out, they got it. Boom, they're in her ear. Right. Hit him with this. Hit him with this. Hit him with this. Don't think that, and you're going to see this in the whole surrogate in the information war about this. Everybody goes up, and this is why. Let's be brutally frank. You don't have a deep bench of people actually going up there to talk about this. And one of the reasons is they're going to say, "Hey, you're going to have the mark of." You're gonna have the red letter up there and never be invited back on. So if you go in, you've got to be ready to represent. Right. So Raheem, I know this is media training 101, but people got to understand you can't go in there and at the end you can't just roll the total position. That's why the end of the thing was so powerful. Maybe we'll pull that up with Denver.
Look, the point about this and the point that this should confirm to all of us, and I'm not critiquing. This isn't me kind of lashing out. This is helpful. I'm trying to help here. Okay? This is a person and this is a mechanism, a movement of people that have been brought up only at like turning point conferences. And it's very clear. It's all well and good. You can give a great speech at a turning point conference, and that's fine. You need that too. You need those rallies. I get it. But if your first foray up against CNN and you're getting chopped up by ditziness, who's got a producer in her ear.
I would say she's ditzy.
It was totally ditzy. That was totally ditzy. It was ditzy because she didn't have she didn't know what she was talking about. There was somebody talking to her, right? It was ditzy because she's mumbling her own way through the argument. He should be able to jump in and go, hold on, you don't know what you're talking about. You don't have no clue. And you jump in. And look, he hasn't had the 7 years that you've had of getting chopped up over in London on BBC. And also there has come an arrogance of the last couple of years of, if we mess up, Trump's there to pick up the pieces for us.
This is the key point.
Right?
Trump can't. Right now, you don't have the air cover of Trump in a tweet to do the beatdown of CNN.
Right.
We're out there. You're out there, and President Trump, and they understood this. Why do you think they took down Twitter? They understand. How well do you think Biden be doing right now if President Trump had the apparatus of communicating over the head of the mainstream media directly to the American people? First off, he would again running commentary and mocked and ridiculed the speech. There's no doubt about that. So you don't have that. You have to understand you're not going to have air cover. You're not going to have air cover of the Republican establishment. The reason I wanted to play these two is not to pick on the young congressman, but to understand we're in a different time. Okay, you're in a different time. The turning point things are fantastic, and they have so motivated young people. Mm-hmm. But understand when you're now in this fight, you've got to really think through what am I trying to accomplish. Right? It's not charm school. They're not looking. They're looking. And Rand Paul, who didn't even support it, Rand Paul actually run it. And that is a model that should be taught to every Republican, how not to back down and have your facts and refuse to back down when you're being hectored to back down.
What did you say to me, 7 years ago? You said, live like a monk for a short amount of time, internalize the arguments, internalize everything, and then you can go out there and start doing stuff. And that's what these people need to figure out right now. You need to be on top of the arguments. You need to be on top of the philosophy. There's no Trump tweet coming out to save you.
Okay, this is all to tee up how big this trial is and how much they are coming for President Trump, and they're coming for the Trump movement in this trial. We have to be prepared. Be back. Go to Wuhan Lab next.
The Chinese authorities have imposed a lockdown in the central city of Wuhan, where the coronavirus is kept. Millions of people are in quarantine.
WHO, which is meeting today to decide whether they're going to declare this a worldwide public health emergency.
Cette fois, c'est confirmé. Les 2 premiers cas européens de coronavirus se trouvent
in Scotland and Northern Ireland. A number of people are being tested for the coronavirus.
There are 7 types of coronaviruses that infect humans.
This morning, the CDC announced confirmation of the second case of novel coronavirus in the U.S.
A man in his 30s from Washington State is the first person in America to be diagnosed with coronavirus.
And health officials have confirmed that the virus can spread from person to person.
Because with our increasing global society, the threat of infectious disease is only a right away.
Hey, that was our opening for the 1 year. That was 1 year ago today. It was January 25th, the year of our Lord 2020. We had the War Impeachment show, and we bifurcated. It took an hour, and then a couple days later, I think, went to all 2 hours, right when we got through the impeachment for the pandemic. We were ahead of it then. We're ahead of it now. One of the reasons we're ahead of it is our relationships and people we know in China. And I want to bring in the 2020 War Room Pandemic Woman of the Year, Dr. Li Ming Yan from Hong Kong University's lab, who is a great hero. In fact, we started on the 25th. She actually started, I think, on the 19th. She came on one of the Luda's show with a nom de guerre, and she basically laid out what she knew about the Chinese Communist Party, knowing about this in late December, and she actually being part of the apparatus in Hong Kong was to reach out to the Beijing CDC that they knew all this and WHO was lying and everybody was lying. Want to bring in now Dr. Yan. Dr. Yan, look, your whole life has changed since then. You're now in the United States of America. You're trying to get asylum. You've become a hero to the American people, and particularly our broad audience here throughout the world. We want to have more. All this week, we're going to be going through the 1 year anniversary because we're so jammed for news. But I had to bring you on today because of President Xi's speech. Knowing what you know, and you're the first to come here and say, hey, it came out of the Wuhan lab. It did not come out of a bat cave. It did not come out of the wet market. The bat woman's lying. This is all CCP. You're the first person to say this is a biological weapons program, which now the American intelligence services say, and Mike Pompeo told us that this week, that it's a PLA-run program. Everything you told the West has come true, and you've been mocked and ridiculed, right, as some crazy person, right, a female version of Miles Guo, right? You're crazy. But everything's turned out to be right. Everything that Dr. Yan's been saying has turned out to be right, and all of her critics have been wrong. Okay? Now, she comes on today with this big Party of Davos speech that tells the way the world's going to be. He only mentions briefly the COVID-19 virus and doesn't take any accountability, any responsibility, kind of just puts it out there that, hey, we can maybe work together to solve this thing. In addition, CCTV this week has a 8-minute special on prime time where they say they focus on Fort Detrick in Western Maryland. And they say, well, we think this thing came from the biological weapons program of the United States. Dr. Yan, tell us exactly why is she so unrepentant and doesn't take any responsibility for what they unleashed upon the world?
Also, I think it just changed your thinking style. You will understand them very well. Because for CCP, this is not the disaster they caused. This is a big trophy they get. So people will do the memorize for the very, miserable things happened. And those kind of accidents, for example, 911, people always memorize people every year the same time. They feel, they still feel painful for the lost, right? But in China, these kind of things actually help that regime go to another stage. For them, they always feel that it is a big success because they show less death toll number and also less case number than the world. And they always try to sell their PPE, those kind of pro-quality vaccines to other countries. And other government has to listen to CCP government because of this unknown pandemic. And also the whole scientific world, they like to praise Chinese Communist Party and blame U.S. government, like blame Trump government, that say you did so much worse than Chinese Communist Party. You should learn from them. So altogether, Chinese Communist Party, according to their concept, they get big success. And the people who died, it's just number. And even not number, they don't exist anymore.
Okay.
So that's the reason.
Hang on. I just want to make sure people understand. They think it's a big success. This is working for them. Mm-hmm. So given that, and we only got a few minutes this morning, Dr. Yan, given that, he just throws down on Biden and the Biden administration. What are the nations of the world to do, in your mind, to stand up to the Chinese Communist Party on this topic of the CCP virus? What would you recommend that the world community do to basically get a full accounting and to hold the Chinese Communist Party responsible for what they unleashed upon the world?
The thing is very simple, that don't trust anything from Chinese Communist Party and don't trust those scientists they use to help them in this kind of cover-up and all the other lies. And then do the thorough investigation, because U.S. government already knows that it comes from the military civil that kind of project in China. They have to get more information, and not only in Wuhan, because Wuhan lab is already separated. The evidence is gone. Even bad woman Xi Jinping moved to Shanghai, and her new P4 lab is going to be established soon. So they have to hold the Chinese Communist Party fully accountable and do the thorough investigation in China, in the government, and also listen to the witness, insider people's word, like people who work with them, and also the people suffered there.
Dr. Yan.
All this together, anyway, they have to be powerful.
Thank you very much, Dr. Yan. We'll be back with you during the week to go through what's exactly happened in this investigation. Dr. Li Min Yan, our Woman of the Year for 2020, for her bravery of leaving Hong Kong and becoming a defector to come to the West to expose all the lies of the CCP. Do we have, Dr. Yan, thank you very much for bringing, do we have Fauci's clip?
Yeah, I want to bring this to people's attention because it's something I think that may have escaped people from this weekend, especially those who aren't watching the establishment media in its Sunday shows. But it just goes to show you how, the whole science-based, data, evidence-based stuff goes very quickly out of the window when they're trying to push a political narrative. I think we have the Brennan with Fauci clip. Let's roll it.
Let's roll it.
On the vaccines.
It is unlikely, but we can say definitively.
Understood. Yes. On the vaccines, you just drove home that point of how important it is to get this out there. I want to play some tape here for you and get you to clarify when U.S. taxpayers can expect to get their vaccine.
At least 100 million COVID vaccine shots into the arms of the American people in the first 100 days. 100 million shots in the first days.
You know the goal that's been set, which I believe is entirely achievable, is to have 100 million people vaccinated in the first 100 days.
Both vaccines?
Primary and boost. Yes.
Primary and boost.
Yeah.
In 100 days.
Yes. Yes.
So, Doctor, in that exchange, you seem to be promising a bit more than the president is. Can you just bottom line it? How many people will be fully vaccinated within 100 days?
Yeah, so let me clarify that, because there was a little bit of a misunderstanding. What we're talking about is 100 million shots in individuals. So shots, as in other words, when you get down to, let's say, a certain part of the 100 days, at the end of 100 days, you're going to have some people who will have gotten both shots and some will still be on their first shots. What the president is saying, 100 million shots in the arms of people within 100 days.
So reportedly, the transition team projections are that's more like 67 million people by April, by the end of 100 days. Is that an accurate number?
Right. Yeah, that is, well, I haven't done the math myself, but it sounds very much like the accurate number where you're having.
He's a pathological liar, and he's a moron. And now the mainstream media is going to own this guy, okay? And we're going to drive it home. By the way, Steve Hilton last night reinforced the whole gain of function narrative we've been talking about since the spring. Other reporting is going to come out this week. We're going to have other people on the show, I think, on Thursday. Fauci's responsibility and direct connection to the gain of function experiments are all going to be exposed, and now the mainstream media owns him, don't they? He's their problem.
By the way, do you see what I mean now, ladies and gentlemen? For you're in the grind. You've got 1 minute and 30 seconds of snooze. Why am I watching this? There, but the punchline is an absolute kicker, and it's a kicker in the teeth of science. He gets his sums wrong by 33 million Americans. He originally said, and by the way, maybe, and he needs to clarify, was this a downgrading of the vaccination program by the Biden regime? Because under Trump, he was saying 100 million people, and now he's saying 67 million people, in addition to saying, sorry, I haven't done the math.
This is the way you stop it. This is the way you stop the Biden administration. All this unity, happy talk, it's pure smash mouth they're trying to do. They have no interest in unity whatsoever. They want things on their term only, just like the CCP. I want to now go to Mike McCormick, the author of Biden Unauthorized. He's known Biden as White House stenographer since, I think, 2011. I want to ask you the question. The most fascinating thing, your book is incredible for the timeline, and our audience loved it the other day. But, Mike, I got to ask you about the pressure cooker of the presidency, and particularly when she throws down so hard. One of the things you said on Indian TV the other day is about his mental decline. I just want to go back to that. Walk people that you've known this guy now for almost 10 years. Walk us through the mental decline, and how is that going to be? How is he going to handle this when you have now someone like Xi that's at the highest level throwing down hard on him?
I don't think he can handle it, Steve. I mean, I don't see President Biden as he is now able to sit one-on-one with a world leader, adversarial world leader. President Xi started manipulating Joe Biden the first chance he got. As a vice president, there was vice president of vice president. They set up this big connection between the two vice presidents because Xi was the designated future president of China. I went there with Biden in 2011 to China. And basically what the Chinese did is they recognized Joe Biden as being easily manipulated because he had a huge ambition to be president. And so they roughed him up. He wanted to be the spokesman of the Asia pivot, and they roughed him up. I talk about that in my book. He roughed up his staff twice in a couple of meetings. So Biden didn't like it. He starts playing the Chinese game their way. After that, they started rewarding him. In 2012, there's not a lot of reporting on it, but this is in my book. Joe Biden and President Xi comes to America for a 5-day trip. Starts it off in Washington, but ends it in Hollywood. And Biden joins him in Hollywood. And they put together a series of meetings that connect Hollywood, Xi, and Biden with big donors, studio heads that want to expand their reach into China with their film marketing. China at that time had a restriction on film marketing into China. So all of a sudden they lift the film marketing, they cut a deal, they lift the film marketing, and everybody wins. Joe wins, Hollywood wins, Xi wins. Not much longer after that is when they started reaching into Hunter Biden's back pocket and started rewarding him for being the sleaze that he is.
Mike, why don't you hang on? We're going to take a short commercial break. I want to bring you back on. The book, and we can get the cover up to the next. Biden Unauthorized. This is the book you ought to read. This guy knows about the mental decline of Biden. He knows all the inside baseball. You get a very different look than the mainstream media has spun about Joe Biden. Okay, we're going to take a short commercial break. We're going to return with the author of Biden Unauthorized. Can Joe Biden take the pressure cooker that she's going to put him under? Or is he going to break at the seams? All next on War and Pandemic.
War Room. Pandemic with Stephen K. Bannon.
The epidemic is a demon, and we cannot let this demon hide.
War Room. Pandemic. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Okay, we have Mike McCormick, the author of Biden Unauthorized. If you want to read one book about Joe Biden, this is the one to get. Biden Unauthorized. You get all the inside baseball and all the corruption, timelines, detail. Mike, I've got to bounce because we have breaking news, but we're going to bring you back tomorrow. But, Mike, I got one question the audience wants to hear from you. Given that you've known him from 2011, the percentage decline in his mental capacities, in your opinion, having seen him today versus 2011, is it a 10% drop, a 20% drop, a 25, a 30, 40? What is Mike McCormick's number?
50%. He's half there.
Wow.
He's
50,
not
50%.
He's not the guy he used to be. 50%. Yeah. There's no way he could be in a room with President Xi alone, one-on-one, and make any decision that is valuable.
Okay, hold it.
No.
I want to put it right there. That'll be the headline. We're going to bring you back tomorrow. 50% decline. Okay, tomorrow I'm going to press you. I'm going to press you to back that up. Mike McCormick, the author of Biden Unauthorized, said a 50% decline in his mental capacity since he knew him in 2011. Mike, we're going to have you back on tomorrow. You got to stand up. You're going to have to sit there and say that because that is shocking news for somebody that saw him up close and personal.
Salute the Marines.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah,
Remember
exactly.
he's mumbling that.
Mike, the author of Biden Unauthorized. Want everybody in the posse, if you want a book on Biden, this is one to get. Mike, thank you very much for joining us. We got to turn to breaking news.
Thanks, Steve.
See you tomorrow.
Look forward to seeing you tomorrow.
Yeah, 50%. Wow.
Just real quick, can we recall that the press yesterday were all about, hey, you know, they went to call your mother bagel shop on 8th Street.
Yeah,
wasn't that wonderful? Hunter Biden stood at there. That means Joe Biden was waiting in the car for 15 minutes while Hunter popped out to get bagels on an 8th Street. The new president with an urgent agenda. I'll wait. You get bagels.
Yeah, the coverage has been out. It's been outrageous. So it's particularly what they try to do to destroy President Trump. Okay, one of the biggest defenders of the president, one of the biggest defenders of the MAGA movement and the Constitution, Mike Lindell from My Pillow. Mike, we have you on for a short segment because I hear there's going to be massive breaking news. We want to be the first guys. The Daily Mail smeared your Christian faith, smeared what you're doing for the Recovery Network. Your whole road to Damascus has so moved our audience when you told us about it last week. What are you doing? How are you standing up against the Daily Mail?
Well, I started a lawsuit against them, and it'll be announced in about an hour. Actually, we're announcing it right now, but they're going to get served in about an hour. And I'm not going for just a retraction. I'm going for the damage they did to my Lindell Recovery Network when they involved, with their addiction and all these lies they told. Where I was never met the woman, never been in in the West Village, and never been to the Hamptons. I'm learning what media outlets can do to hurt people.
It's the most powerful paper in the world. It's the largest paper in the world, biggest website. It's all celebrities and political coverage. You plied her with alcohol. You used champagne and liquors to try to apply her. What impact did that have on the Recovery Network that you've dedicated your life to build to help people through God and through the Christian faith to come to face their demons and to use themselves to recover?
It created a lot of doubt on me being a hypocrite. I was set free by the grace of God on January 16, 2009, and it puts doubt in people's mind. And I was getting calls and emails from all over the country. And right now, we were just getting in the process of reaching out to tens of thousands of churches. We've been working on it for about 3 years now. But now it was to the church segment, and the first ones we called, they're going, well, what's this about Mike in the news? This has done terrible damage. And this is, when you're talking about My Pillow and the boycotts and all that stuff, that's a little different when you go after my integrity and you go after my everything I stand for. My Pillow is just a platform for these other things, and it all starts with my integrity and people to have trust.
Real quickly, we got about 2 minutes. It had been very easy for you to walk away. I mean, the woman, the actress, told the Daily Mail, it's a lie. It's not true. I don't know this guy. He's never sent me anything. You told him it was a lie. It had been very easy just to be another story about celebrities and just go away. Why did you decide to defend yourself and actually go after him?
Well, you got to make a stand. I mean, like I say, this went after the core of what I stand for. My integrity, what I believe in. And when you start attacking something that's going to help so many people, it's not just about me. These are, millions of lives that are at stake here, because I believe it's the best. It's called the Lindell Recovery Network. It's the best thing ever to bring people out of addiction. And I've worked very hard on it, and I'm not going to stand for that. The media right now, what they're trying to do to me and my pillow. Today they went after, today, there'll be more breaking news probably tomorrow. They went after my foundation today. The Washington Post is coming out with some article. She's asking me about my foundation and my Lindell Recovery Network. I go, well, I don't know how you're going to write this, because I'm the one I put all the money in myself. I don't reach out for other people for donations. So that'll come out tomorrow, I'm sure. But I just got to, but I believe in and not back down.
Well, that's why, Mike, just a note to self, they're going to attack you more. They're going to come after every aspect. This is why it's more important than ever, if you're a believer in a fighter, to support Mike Pella and support other things that Mike's working on, because he is now that President Trump, now they stole the election, they're full bore on the impeachment trial of President Trump and Mike Lindell. They figured they can take Mike Lindell out. There won't be leaders, right? What they're trying to do is people that support your voice, they're trying to destroy. They're not trying to beat them politically. They're trying to destroy MyPillow. They're trying to destroy the Lindell Recovery Network. They're trying to destroy Mike Lindell as an object lesson that if you raise your head up, this is what's going to happen to you. Mike, you're an American hero. You're a patriot. We thank you for carving out time. You're saying in about an hour that lawsuit's going to get served against the Daily Mail, correct?
Absolutely, absolutely. And if you guys want to support everything I'm doing, you can use the promo code Mike at MyPillow. I have 2,500 American USA employees that thank each and every one of you for helping out. And trust me, I will not back down. I'm taking this one all the way up the ladder with the lawsuit. I'm not, even if they do an apology, because they do. This is the thing they do, and we've got to. And I'm not backing down on the machine fraud either. I heard they called me on that today. I'm not backing down on that either. So
okay, Mike, thank you very much. We got to bounce. Mike Lindell, an American patriot. What's on National Pulse at 3?
Oh, we got a lot going on. We're going to have Liz Harrington on the show talking about her throwdown against Alyssa Farah. Very important in terms of where the GOP is going right now as well. Also, Rudy Giuliani's just released a statement on the lawsuit. We're going to have that up on the National Pulse website in minutes.
Okay, we'll be back at 5. Peter Navarro, Wuhan Labs, CCP. Also, the trial of Donald Trump, all at 5 o'clock today.